Ski mask slide with a driver. Shot him close range, niggas close, caught him with fire.
Thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all officially tapped in with Plugged In with Paysos. Thank y'all. Welcome back to Plugged In with Paysos, episode 3. This is about mental illness, something that's very personal to me. But before I get into that, I want to say thank you to anybody who pulled up, who viewed the cast, who gave a like, a comment, a sub, anything. I don't care if you just pulled up for 10 seconds. I appreciate the love. Now I'm going to get back to mental illness, to the topic of today, something that's very personal to me. Now, I'm living day to day with with a couple, so I can speak about it, not just speak off what people told me. You know, I have bipolar 1 and anxiety, and I also have plenty of friends and family that are suffering some type of mental illness. Now, for me, I'll get into why I decided to get treatment and the things that were going on with me. But I just want to let you guys know that, you know, it's not your fault that you were born with a mental illness. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's not their fault. But it is your fault when you recognize that something's not right with you and you don't take the proper channels to get yourself better. Then it becomes your fault. Every 40 seconds, there's somebody that commits suicide due to a mental illness. Over 700,000 people annually die from committing suicide. You know, that's a lot of family members, that's a lot of friends gone because they didn't have help. And one of us could have been the one to help them, to have that number much more lower than it was. But that's the goal, to bring awareness and to get that number down. Now, as far as children, 1 in 6 are dealing with a mental illness. Men, you know, we have that macho mentality. We're not going to the police, to the hospital, you know, unless we're dying. You know what I mean? So, you know, for us, we take that attitude and don't get diagnosed, don't get any treatment. When we know there's something the matter with us, the end result most of the time is suicide. Now, there's so many different mental illnesses that, you know, need to be brought up more, that need more light shine on them. There's a lot from, you know, low spectrum to high spectrum, and they all affect people differently. So before you even think about judging somebody or say, oh, well, you know, that illness is not that bad, you know, try living with them in their brain. Try reading up on it and educating yourself before you speak ignorance. Now, there's, like I said, so many different types of mental illness. There's PTSD, OCD, there's bipolar disorder, which I am. There's 3 levels, 1, 2, 3. Obviously, the higher, the more severe of the disorder it is. There's schizophrenia, there's ADHD. You know, people have borderline personality disorders, anxiety disorders. You know, then you have people with eating disorders, you know, such as binge eating disorders, or bulimia nervosa, anorexia nervosa. There's a lot of different mental illnesses out here that affect people differently. Now, globally, there's over 1 billion people that suffer from some type of mental illness. So like I said, you're not the only one out here alone, man. You're not. So don't feel like you are. You know what I mean? Some advice to me, from me to you, is when you do decide to get treatment, when you do go, bring your mom, bring your girl, somebody that knows you, so they can, you know, give their input to the doctor on what they see. Because you can give your opinion, that's all fine and dandy, but it's not. It's better when somebody from the outside is looking in. They can give more input. They might see what you don't see, and they definitely feel what you don't feel at that point. So that's what I would do. Another thing is, sometimes when you go for treatment, the first medication might not work for you. So don't give up. The second one might not work for you. Don't give up. There is one that will work for you. It took me 2 or 3 medications before I got the one that worked for me. When you have a mental illness, all that means is a chemical imbalance in your brain. When you get medication, it balances you out. So that's that's what that's about. Now, for me, I got diagnosed about 10 years ago. For me, I always knew something was wrong with me because of my mood swings, my attitude. I just knew I always would go from 0 to 100. Always. I would be mad about the smallest thing. I would not speak for days to a girl I'm living with, and I'm living in the same house with her, and I'm not speaking to her for days. You know how uncomfortable that makes somebody feel? You know how ignorant that is? All because I didn't want to go and do what I knew I had to do. For whatever reason, whether I thought I could smoke an L, and, whether I thought I could count to 10 and work on my patience, you can't do none of that because your brain is missing something. You know what I mean? It's missing something. I would go from 0 to 100, and then, 10 minutes later, I want to cuddle and watch TV and laugh like I just didn't go crazy. And that itself will drive somebody mentally insane. You know what I mean? So it's not just affecting you, it's affecting the person you're with, the people you're around. You have to think about other people also. For me, once I started taking the medication, it took a couple of weeks, but then, people started noticing before I did, and it felt good. It felt good to be able to talk rationally, to be able to agree to disagree, to have something happen that's minute and not get mad and blow up and be mad for days. You know how much energy it takes to stay mad? It takes a lot more than to be happy, I'll tell you that much. So, it helped me in so many different ways, man. When I went to go get diagnosed, I was just tired of myself. Basically, I was just tired of myself. I was tired of myself. And once you get to that point, you'll be there too. And, if something's the matter with your friend, your homie, your aunt, your mom, your brother, they might not want to hear that conversation. But, if you care about them and something's wrong with them, talk to them, pull them to the side, man. Obviously, you're doing it out of love, but sometimes people need that help. Sometimes people be embarrassed. Sometimes people feel weak. There's nothing the matter with getting yourself help. You're stronger than the people that didn't. At least when you get help, it shows that you want to be a better person. You want to be a productive person. You know what I mean? So it's no way somebody can call you anything but a winner. You know what I mean? But a winner. So I wouldn't be worried about what anybody else says. They can, personally, because the main goal in this life is to make sure you straight from head to toe and toe to head. Mentally, physically, financially, your soul, everything. So you got to get your mind right, baby. You know what I mean? You have to. Never judge anybody. Try and help them. You never know how they feel. You might think that their mental illness isn't something that's to be taken serious. You might think, oh, that's nothing. But to them, it's everything. So you got to be understanding, man. You might not think OCD is something serious. But to the person that, can't stop doing what they're doing because the anxiety is killing them, because they feel like they have to do it. Live in their shoes, man. Somebody with schizophrenia, when they hearing things, seeing stuff, don't laugh at them, man. You know what I mean? Shoot, try and put them on the help. That's all I'm saying. Try and help somebody, man. Try and help each other. My platform, man, is all about hope. giving hope, having hope, love, giving love, getting love, awareness, you know what I mean? So we can become better people to each other. Yeah, man. Episode 3, mental illness. And them numbers of 700,000 every year annually on that suicide, that's going down. Next year, statistics is going to be way down. Way down. Because it might not be a lot of people that see this platform and hear my message, but just the vibe alone I'm going to push out in this universe is going to get that number down. You heard? And the vibe y'all gonna push out in this universe is gonna get that number down. So let's get it. You feel me? Episode 3, mental health. Episode 3. Episode 3, 420 pesos. Don't forget, man, every day is Miles Day.
Religious like a Muslim, black Osama with a K. I'm a menace, could've played old dog instead of Ross J.